effect is, and everyone seems to be drinking less beer. So I think a lot of the sort of tension is coming from the fact that THC drinks are really emerging as a real competitive threat to beer. In a similar way to how light beer was a moderating force, and you heard Brian kind of talk about that, 20 years ago on the alcohol industry, we're seeing THC drinks being that new wave of moderation. Our best consumers still drink alcohol. We take them from drinking about double the average, and we bring them back to average. And that's a really good thing. Brian mentioned, it's dangerous. These products are being marketed as wellness products. They're only wellness products if you compare them to the alcohol consumption that drinkers were doing before, right? We're taking people down in alcohol consumption. That's a net positive in their lives. And so I think that's a really important one. He also did a really good job of making the case for the regulation that we want as Cann. We would like to see the FDA provide oversight here. We would like the TTP to involve. We should be taxed. And many states are doing this already. I think the notion of this farm bill loophole, which was created and now needs to be closed, that's not our experience of operating this business in 30 states today. Something like 22 states since Minnesota started this and passing their law allowing hemp THC in liquor stores have passed real, robust regulatory frameworks that cap the amount of THC, require testing, packaging and labeling guidelines. These products can only be sold to adults 21 plus. And that's the experience in most markets. We test every single one of our products, regardless of whether the state requires us to do that. We're not talking about the nerd gummy clusters here.
I do want to ask you about those.
To give you an example, those products may have 200 milligrams of synthetic THC in them. Our products have 2 milligrams. Our most popular drink has 2 milligrams, and it's not synthetic. It's naturally derived from the hemp plant. Those are really important distinctions: potency and natural versus synthetic. A lot of what you're seeing is the state's attorney general, which signed a letter. That letter was focused on synthetics. We agree. We should ban synthetics. We should regulate those out of the market. Highly potent products. The whole point of hemp is that it's low potency. So you shouldn't have a 100 milligram hemp product. You shouldn't have a 50 milligram hemp product, right? 2 seems about right, maybe 5. We can have that debate. If you look at the states that have already passed potency caps, they all kind of center around 5. You have some markets like Virginia, which is at 2. Connecticut's also on the low end at 3, and then you've got some that are higher, like Minnesota at 10.
So let me ask you more about that regulatory landscape.
This out, right? Is it economic forces? Younger people aren't drinking as much alcohol. It may be, but I thought that beer was what you drank when there were economic hardship and inflation, and we're not seeing that. If anything, the lower cost stuff's getting hit the worst. I think something's shifting in how people want to consume alcohol, right? I'm wearing a Woo today. People are wearing these trackers. It's pretty amazing. You wake up every morning and it's yelling at you for drinking alcohol. Like, that wasn't a factor 10, 15 years ago. I think it's a really powerful one. There's also access to these alternatives, right? I joke a lot of times that you have Gen Zers who can look on TikTok and see alternative ways of socializing. One, they don't actually socialize as much, so they're staying home and they're staying in their parents' home, so there's something going on there. But the fact that they can look out in the world and realize that I don't have to drink alcohol. Like, I went to college, I learned to drink. That was sort of monoculture. We've blown up the monoculture pretty dramatically. And I think one of the casualties of that is this sort of just rote alcohol consumption as the only way of socializing.
So when you look ahead, like